think it's this way. Or is it this way? Hello, and welcome to November Foxtrot. What an intro.
Yeah, absolutely. That was flawless. Marvelous.
It was horrific.
Well
it's very different on the backside of
it. We're joined this week by Patrick from LAN Nav Challenge. So hi Patrick, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Do you want to just give a little bit of a spiel to introduce yourself? Obviously you play Airsoft as well, but just give us a flavour of who Patrick is.
So who Patrick is. I spent 9 years as a ranger, as a rights-of-way ranger, so working very precisely with maps and coordinates. Before that, tree surgery and forestry work. I've just come out of leisure and health and safety, so I'm very much a numbers type of guy in reality. I decided to have a go and set up a page called LAN Nav Challenge to sort of show people that navigation is very simple. It's not some kind of sort of necromancy, and that everyone can have a go. And because within Airsoft nowadays, people are wanting more and more realism. They want that sort of challenge of things, and with Defiant Events and Mac Bravo and things like that, Machiavellian, being given grid references and coordinates and bearings really brings more of a realism to what you're doing, and I think that's just what we all are really wanting nowadays. Is not just skirmishes or extended skirmishes. We want some actual technical ability in there as well.
Yeah, something you get your teeth into. Yeah, fair play. Good stuff. Marvellous.
Well, hello to everyone joining. We've got Jungles Airsoft, Kenny Rebel, Pegasus, the Punished one. Hello, Lance. How are you?
Hello, me. Welcome.
Hi, Kieran. Hi, Marky Mark. Hi, Rage. Matthew McCarthy. Daz, hello. Rage says, Mr. Patrick, because of the conversation I had with you at the NoFo event, I now have barefoot shoes.
Fantastic. You know, it's all about getting back to the ground. You know, it's a funny thing.
I've looked into those subsequent to that event as well. I haven't taken the plunge because I've watched a YouTube video that said apparently it can take a little while to get used to them.
Definitely. So on that side of my life, I've been minimalist and barefoot for over 27, 28 years. It is the most natural way of us moving. Depending on what you're doing, if you're say stalking in woodland, your noise levels disappear, absolutely disappear, just because you've got more ground feel and things like that, rather than having a big pair of chunky boots on. I know a lot of people within the sort of outside community, maybe Airsoft and things like that, always go for like big chunky military boots, big high ankles and things like that. But in reality, if your feet and legs are accustomed to holding your weight, you really don't get you don't get ankle issues. And I've done marathons barefoot. I've gone up mountains. It's not difficult.
Wow,
but that's
a conversation for another day.
Yeah, for another day. Yeah.
We'll have to invite you back for an episode on feet.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, maybe I'm not saying I'm not always into feet.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Mike's into him in like a weird kind of way. Mike's into feet.
I can imagine,
genuinely, I'll come back to that at a later point. But I have been. I have a story about feet. Hi, Chris. Hi, Fresh Meat. And then everyone else is already in there. So cool. Nice. Welcome to the show. We're obviously going to be talking about navigation, sort of some basics, a bit of learning, hopefully as well. We've Lance and I have both brought various navigation aids to kind of talk through. Patrick, just before the show, showed us something that he's got with him, which was rather impressive. So Patrick's got a massive compass.
The giant teaching
I've heard
compass.
stories of Patrick's compass, and I've heard it's very big. Yes.
It's not great. It's not great for keeping north, as you can see, but it definitely does tell you where you're going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you certainly wouldn't lose it in the bottom of your Bergen, would you?
No.
So we're going to be talking navigation on that front. If you've got any questions for Patrick at any point during the show, if you could just whack a little cue in front of him, it just helps me identify them as we're going through. And then Lance and I can sort of get those over to Patrick and we can all learn more, which would be interesting. So shall we roll on to the news?
Let's
do some news.
I take my gun and I go, pew, 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 pew.
News. So, top news story from myself this week is, and I guess all of us. Andy won't be joining us for another couple of episodes. He's still recovering from his road collision. So we wish him well, and big shout out to Andy. Hopefully you get better soon, because
we've been checking in on him daily. Many piss takings just to make the healing process that much quicker. But yeah, no, he's doing okay. I think he's home now, isn't he? So he's recuperating at home, which is good.
Yeah.
We like that.
I
we
think
like
he
that very
didn't
much.
particularly like the hospital food, so fair enough.
Nice.
In other
so
news,
no one fancied going round the house, knocking on the door, and go, surprise guest.
Yeah, like Michael McIntyre at 3 o'clock in the morning, just wake him up with a mic.
To be fair, we're not 100% certain what sort of state he's in. He might be literally being like those big like crutch things up on the. I don't know.
The
I'm
whole
assuming
body
he's not,
cast.
but
Kind of hope so.
Andy, if you're watching, if you've got a whole body cast on, can we please have a photo?
Yes. And can I rattle can it for you?
we could see if we could get him like a NoFo bed gown, like like the hospital gowns.
A backless
like a
90, just with our arse out. Yeah, arse out.
We
90.
could just buy a 90, to be fair, and just get him to put it on backwards.
Yeah, we could do that. Let's do that.
In other news, I have bought some stuff this week. However, it is all back there, so I'm going to be talking about that next week.
Nicely done.
I did get a new multicam black background, so the reason that my background is looking a little bit darker this week is I got a new background. Black may not be the best choice as a background for a podcast, but hey ho, I've already purchased it now, so there we go.
Fair play, nice.
Any exciting news or purchases from Lance, Patrick?
I've got. Oh, go on, Patrick. You're the guest. Go on.
I was going to say, not Airsoft or LANAV related. I bought myself a spoke shave, which is a woodworking tool, for some craft stuff I've got coming up, and that's about it. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. I had a message. I did, yes. I'm just trying to. So basically, I wanted to mention about the whole Yukara thing, Mike. I don't know if you was up to speed on that.
Yes.
So I had a message come to me. I won't mention any names. But basically, the gist of it is that guy's been playing at an airsoft site as a skirmish. He's not got his Yukara yet, so he needs to do 3 games over 56 days or whatever it is to be able to get registered for Yukara. And what he said to me is that he's done 2, and I think he needs to do 1 more, or he's done 1, needs to do 2 more. But the site he does it at, once he's done these 3 games, they won't register his Yukara unless he joins their site as a member. So he has to pay a membership to then join their site. Now, I was under the understanding that once you'd paid to play at this site for 3 times, or any site for 3 times, they would just register your Yukara number because you've been to their site 3 times, you've paid X amount of pounds to go 3 times. So it seemed a bit cheeky to me for a site to come and say, well, you've played here for 3 times now, you are entitled to a Yukara license or a Yukara number or defence, but we're not going to give it to you straight away. We're going to make you join our Airsoft club, if you like, or our membership scheme for you to then get your license number that you're already entitled to. That's what I could get from the gist of the message, and I did reiterate that to the guys who messaged me, and he concurred. Yeah, that's the case. Now, I reached out to quite a few different sites, and a lot of sites said that that's complete and utter nonsense. That's just a site trying to cream some more money out of you. A lot of sites do offer a £10 charge or this, that, and the other, but included in that, there's an awful lot of benefits for doing it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas this is just purely we're just charging you to get it, and that's it. There's no more. You don't get any more for it. You know what I mean? More bang for your buck. So not only is he paid for 3 visits to the site, let's say it's 20 quid, so that's 60 quid he's paid there. The membership, I don't know how much that could be, another 20 quid. So he's going to be paying 80 quid just purely to get his Yukara, when he's already paid 60 at this site. Not only buying BBs at the site, I can imagine buying food and drinks and stuff like that. So he's already putting into the site's pocket, but now they're trying to cream a little bit more. So I just didn't agree with that, and I thought that was a bit of bit of a lame move from the site. I don't know what
Yeah,
site it is.
so-
He never told me, but
I did a little bit of research on this as well. I've previously attended sites which have a similar thing. So I think it was like a £5 or £10 admin fee that they charged. Now there's no actual fee for the Yukara membership.
No, there's not.
To clarify, obviously, Yukara is not a license. It's just a membership. It's just a way of identifying that you play airsoft. So there's no fee for that. But I don't believe that there's anything stopping a site from doing what they're proposing to do. And I think it's quite common, but I guess it depends on the amount. I mean, as you say, if you've already paid a certain amount to go to this site sort of three times,
well, you have to pay. You have to play there 3 times. Exactly. That's what sort of got my back up a bit. It's like the fact that the guys paid will be paying 3 times to play at this site, as well as all the sundries that he's purchased on top of that, and for them to turn around and say, "Well, we're going to charge you this to do your car." It's like, well, come on, man. I just thought it was a bit of a shitty move by the site, whoever that is. I don't know who it is.
Especially if you think that's just one person. If on a site you've got say 50 new players, that site is really starting to take the piss. With that, I would say, personally, I think Yukara needs a complete overhaul on the way it runs. And if they said, if when you go for an MOT, there is a standard charge, so a site could charge you £5 as an admin fee.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's fair enough. That's across the board. Then it's in black and white. No one can argue it.
At least then you'd be able to turn around to a site and say, "Well, why are you charging me £10? Why do I have to join your team?"
To be fair, Yukara do say it's free to register. So there you go.
So what's actually stopping? What's actually? Oh, sorry, Patrick.
But
what's actually stopping you doing it yourself? Out of interest, just out of interest.
Yeah, you have to be a registered site or a registered shop. So basically, to get registered, it gives you the access to the database. Now, I don't know what process there is to upload someone to the database. We, funnily enough, actually have been in chat about potentially getting a chap from not UCASA. Oh, what's it called?
UCAPA.
Just looking. UCAPU. Sorry, they've all got these stupid
UCAPU.
acronyms. All the acronyms are all the same.
Yeah.
UCAPU, which is the United Kingdom Airsoft Players Union. There you go. Sorry, I've got their patch up on the wall. So United Kingdom Airsoft Players Union, who I know they've sort of spent quite a bit of time with Yukara, and there is UCASA as well. That's a different system that allows you to register that you're an airsoft player. But I mean, they've said it's free. So the sites are fundamentally already imposing that the charge that they're charging is not anything to do with Yukara.
No, they just want you to pay for them to do it.
Which,
I wonder if there's is it actually a long drawn out process or not?
Yeah, one thing that would be interesting would be what else comes with that membership. So
I said, there was a few people that reached out to me once I messaged them, and they said, "Oh, well, you get some 5% discounts." They did there was one gentleman who messaged me saying that one site in particular, they do different stages of membership, like bronze, silver, and gold. So bronze membership, you'll get 5% off every Sunday skirmish for your charges. Silver will be 10, and then obviously gold membership, which is works out at £90 a year or something. You get 15% off, which over the course of a year would work out an awful lot of money saved. If you're a regular skirmisher. Great, perfect. That's an incentive to pay that. I don't mind because you're getting something for it. But if it's just they're charging you £10 just for purely typing in your name, address, and postcode and register you on your car, and then it's like, well, come on, man. I've already paid your site 3 times to play here and bought other things whilst I've been here. So, or potentially bought 3 or 4 of my pals with me on the second visit and the third visit,
Yeah.
So, one of them. I just got my back up a little bit, that was all.
So, I've got 3 sites here. So, Absolute Airsoft, they charge £10. It's valid for a year, and they'll renew it free of charge if you've attended our site at least 4 times throughout the year. So that doesn't seem, to be fair, that unreasonable. Because let's assume that there's a bit of time to put it onto the system. So they have to have someone to do that. So £10 for someone to do that, I don't think is unreasonable. But if on the basis that they'll renew it, for free subsequent to that, fair enough. I don't think that's a problem. Yukara at dog tag. So dog tag is £10, and they'll sort your Yukara out. the dog tag membership card, and you also receive a site player patch. So, and as long as you remain a regular player at our site, all future renewals will be free of charge. Rift is quite a good one. If anyone's
that's
aware
good.
of the Rift, let me read the Rift one out. So Rift is £25 for a year for membership, but you get a Airsoft membership Velcro shield. So it's a high quality arm shield with metallic thread, Velcro back. It's basically a patch. You've got a unique lifetime membership number patch. 10% discount on retail airsoft guns, 3,000 rounds for a £5, 3,000 rounds of .25s for £7. You get your Ikara registration, 15% new player discount of pro airsoft supplies, priority booking at Rift events. I mean, that's you're actually getting something.
That's
for
an
your money.
incentive, isn't it?
That's not. Yeah. So.
Fair
Yeah,
play.
there
Fair
you go.
play. Well, yeah, that was my message, and I've got purchases. So I've got
It really depends on what else you get. You know.
58 pattern yoke turned up. That was one purchase.
Very nice.
This one I'm excited for. Is my 12-foot webbing strap, which is
Is this going to be the belt?
This is the belt for the SA for the 80s webbing set. But what I was most impressed about is that it was literally brand new, and it's 1964.
Oh,
So that's very, very cool. Yes. That's
Why is it 12 foot?
Because it's a cargo strap. So they trimmed it down to make the belts for their webbing out of it.
Ah, right, okay.
So that's the roller pin buckle there. So that's that. It's
But
just
they
really
haven't really
easy.
trimmed it down because they trimmed it down to 12 feet. That's quite
Mike,
a lot of.
This is the original size. It needs to be trimmed down. Honestly, will you listen?
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, that's fine. I get that now.
Patrick, you see
So
this
you can make
like week in, week out.
so tall.
Yeah.
12
Well, the question was because is that the belt strap or is that a?
No, this is a cargo strap. This started off life as a cargo strap to ratchet down pallets in the back of whatever Hercules or Chinooks or something, and the SAS boys used to steal them from the RAF to make their belts out of. So I thought, well, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So yeah, I've got that. So that's that ready to be sorted, and I find
you get another buckle. You could cut that in half. You got two belts.
Absolutely, yeah. But I was also
That was quick maths. There you go.
Absolutely, well done, Mike.
Not,
and
not just a pretty face.
my DPM, my 1980s DPM. Oh, hang on. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I showed this last week or not. But my Falklands Parker jacket,
which is absolutely stunning,
which I love very much, and I got it for an absolute steal. And this is a. I can't see if it's got the date in it. It's a 1980 something or other, or just before. But it's been slightly modded, and I think obviously this has been used in conjunction with a chest rig because it's got the bottom pockets, but the top pockets here, like the breast pockets, have been removed, and I quite like that because I never use mine on my jackets anyhow. I always use like the thigh pockets of a smock when it hangs down, but I never really put anything in there because you've usually got a chest rig over it, plate carrier, or webbing straps, so it's just a bit of a ball ache. So it's one less thing to snag on you when you're putting stuff on and off. So yes, I'm excited for that. So that's my little things that have arrived. And I did win something else, which I will talk about when it arrives, which hopefully before next week's show.
I have some actual news.
I won it.
I genuinely, yeah. I saw it and I watched it, and then it didn't sell. And then I watched it again when it was relisted. It didn't sell. And then I got sent an offer to purchase it, and I just ignored it. And then it got relisted and it didn't sell. And then I got sent another offer, and then I haggled. And then I got it. I counter-offered, and then I got an offer back. And then I counter-offered, and I got an offer back. I went, yeah, okay. So, yeah. More to be revealed on that one.
I have some actual news that I saw earlier in the week. Apparently, the Irish DPM pattern is being discontinued in favour of multicam. So, for anyone that's aware, I think it's called paddy flage, colloquially. No, that's not a joke. That's apparently its nickname. That was on the article. That's not me coming up with that.
So the Irish have got a different DPM pattern to the British Army?
They do. Which I
never
wasn't
knew
aware
that.
of. It's the Defence Forces. They have a kind of woodland. It's kind of an interesting mixture between, I would say, French, sort of old school woodland camouflage and like the British Army woodland DPM, but it's its own distinct camo pattern. But they are discontinuing it. They're going to be swapping over to kind of the more Americanized NATO forces MTP.
Ooh,
Multicam. They're
might be
using
worth
multicam, not MTP. But
might be worth looking into a bit of that then before it's discontinued.
so
Oh,
there you
well.
go.
Genuinely interesting bit of news from you there, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're most
do-
welcome, sir.
I surprise myself sometimes.
I was waiting to take the piss, and I was like, "Oh, that's genuinely interesting." That was.
No, well, I thought that when I said the paddyflage, but apparently that's what it's called. So
Yeah, I did think that was a bit of a bone joke when I was just like,
No.
oh no, all right, fair
No,
enough.
no, I wouldn't
Fair
stoop
one.
so low. There's a couple of messages in the chat. We'll come back to the questions in a sec. Marky Mark says, my news is my trousers are in the UK awaiting customs checks. I'm getting really excited now. So,
Wonderful. The trousers, yes.
That's a story for another day. That's where the mouse ran up my trousers, basically. It was recorded on...
What? How was the maggot exodus in the end? Is that all?
Oh,
is that died a death
Jesus.
now?
Yeah.
That's news.
So-
That's big news.
I had big news last night. I walked out to my car in barefoot, funnily enough, Patrick. I walked out to my car. I got about halfway back and then realised that the ground was just wriggling and there's just maggots everywhere. Now, my bins are quite a way away from my front door, but I think our front porch light had attracted them. So they've all come crawling out the bins. Literally, my front door back was absolutely covered. All the front,
It was like an
everything
army
covered.
of maggots just going
It was
past.
horrendous.
Whoa.
Absolutely horrendous. I'd squashed a few with my feet. They were starting to come in through the door. It was just awful. It was like the plague.
Jesus Christ. Just batten down the hatches.
That was fun last night, yeah. So, Edward says, our thoughts are with Andy and his LMG.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Our thoughts with Andy and his LMG.
Absolutely.
Marky Mark, Pegasus, I've checked my Apple Watch with a compass and it's quite accurate.
Fair play. Nice.
Kieran's got a Swiss M70 Smock, Desert DPM Haversack, and X4 Desert DPM Osprey water bottle pouch. Oh, 4 times Desert. Nice.
Fair play. That's a nice
Kai
little spend up,
Richards.
so we like that.
Kenny Rebel, the Yukara players should now about rampant thievery. It's a defence. Kieran Thompson, apparently Chippenham CQB does that, Lance.
Right. Except for charging.
There's a payment. Gunman, first time, 3 games in 60 games. There's a £10 registration fee, and then so long as you continue to play, £10 to renew.
Mm-hmm.
Rach says, Yukara was set up by retailers to make it easier for them to sell to people. The law says nothing about Yukara. You just need to have a defense such as airsoft reenactment and such. Pegasus says, problem comes with when the site and shop, correct me if I'm wrong, shop owners need to pay to be registered to access the system, while player registration is free after that. So that would be an interesting one. I don't know actually if the shops need to register to be a part of the Yukara. I'm guessing that they probably do, because I know that there's some shops and sites that obviously, you know, they've gone awry and set up their own system. So potentially there's a fee there that they don't want to have to pay. So where is all the Yukara money going? That's a question.
No idea. Keep the server running to people to get registered.
Harry says you don't need a Yukara to purchase rifts from an airsoft site because it's an airsoft site. It's an interesting point.
Makes sense.
Kenny says, Patrick, your beard blends into your shirt and it's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's
It is quite lovely, I must say.
once upon a time.
Mike, look at Mike just looking envious, like head to one side, just.
Because Kenny then followed it up with Mike's dreams of being able to grow a beard like that.
I didn't even see that.
Thanks, Kenny.
Unlike Lance's, mine doesn't grow in the middle very well, so I get these two sides. So sometimes I'll have mutton chops.
Nice,
so I
beauties.
just have these big sides,
Absolute
with
beauties.
nothing down the middle. Yeah.
See, my beard just doesn't grow in the beard area at all. That's the problem. That sounds
You'll
weird.
get there,
I
mate.
just meant in terms of it just...
So yeah. So I'm
just coming out the back,
making
small of my back. I've just got this big bushy beard just back there, basically. Oh dear. Ray says they were from the bins. If you say so, Mike, I would suggest you delete the episodes where you talk about your murder box, just in case they find where the maggots really come from. Oh, I'm not even being funny. Anna, my wife, was genuinely. She was like, "Oh, Mike, I hope you wash your feet because you might walk the eggs in." I was like, "Oh, no."
Oh,
The
no,
rest of
don't
the
say
evening,
that.
I mean, even now, I'm getting all itchy. It's horrible.
Ooh.
Right, that's the end of the news.
Pew, pew,
Yes.
pew, pew.
So we're going to be talking tonight about navigation. So, Patrick, why
Yes.
are you good at navigating? So you obviously spent a lot of time being a ranger.
Why am I good at navigating? Well, it's not about being good at navigating. It's just sort of being able to remember sort of key functions of direction. That is it, really. Obviously, doing it over time, you can't. Repetition is key, but then that's true for everything. You want to learn a skill, you've just got to keep trying at it. I'm quite dyslexic, so it really was a struggle for me to begin with, until I came up with just a really simple way of learning how to do it. It doesn't help that obviously I've been doing it from, I don't know, I was probably 11 when I bought my first compass. It was the shittiest little American compass. It was all plastic and things like that. It had mils on it rather than degrees, and I was just like, this is just crap. And then I realised that actually buying a good compass helps, because it will pretty much do it for you most of the time. But yeah, just repetition. Learning how the world looks really helps. Being able to take a topographical map and sort of map it out in front of you, to what the world really looks like. That is a really good key feature. It's hard to quantify what makes you good at something. Like, I would still say I'm not very good at it. I will look down at a compass and I'll read a bearing, and then I'll look up, and then I'll be like, oh, what was that again? And I'll look down, and I'll correct myself. So no one should ever say that they're great at something. I'm still learning. I can still talk to people, and they'll show me something that I'm like, oh my god, that's fantastic when it comes to land nav.
Every day's a school day, isn't it? So they say.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you should be humble enough to admit that you either don't know something or you just need to get better at it.
Absolutely,
That's
Well, on that beautiful segue, Lance and I don't know a lot about land navigation, and I'm guessing that a lot of our audience don't either. So, can you teach us some stuff?
Well, yes. Yeah,
I mean, let's do sort of almost like map reading 101 from like a MilSim perspective. What would be sort of like Patrick's like step one of getting into navigation or map reading?
Buy yourself a map. And that sounds like the weirdest thing, but buy yourself a map and look at what it is. So if you think a topographical map, I haven't got a topographical map with me today because
That's right. I'm going to bring one up for you.
Okay, so understanding what a map looks like is key. Realistically, you don't even for a MilSim, say, you could say that having a compass is overkill, because your area of operation is so small that you could probably get away with just someone giving you a board with some numbers on and a dot that you need to find. But unless you can read a map and understand what you're looking at, it's never going to work.
Right.
So
okay.
I'd say, first off, go and get yourself a map. Go have a look in charity shops. Go on Facebook Marketplace. It helps if it's your local area, but in reality, it doesn't matter. Every library will have a full set of OS maps, Explorer and Ranger. So 1 to 50 and 1 to 25,000. Just go and sit and open a map.
And that's, would you say, just a normal ordnance survey map, your normal OS map?
Yes.
Just get that.
Yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
go into millets.
We've
They've
got,
got racks of them, haven't they?
Yes, yeah, and you don't need, like I say, you don't even have to buy a new map. You know, go on Facebook Marketplaces. There's tons of people selling maps. Like it's good if it's your area because you can use it. But if it's not, it's great to be able to still just pick up and like finger work out what the topographical. I'm gonna get you, Mike. I will.
Did you notice how I maintained my
Doesn't take much.
professionalism then with you, Patrick, and Mike smirked? Just want to make that to our audio listeners.
So the map you're looking at now obviously has vertical and horizontal lines. The vertical lines are your north-facing lines. So if you imagine, if you've got the map and you're holding it, all the writing will be north to south. Yeah. So the top will be north, the bottom will be south. And that's how you orientate a map. So the top always wants to be facing north. If you get your compass and you've got this spinny bit here will always show north. And what you want to do is you want to line all of the arrows up. So you've got, if you imagine, direction, your north, right? So you want to line everything up until that's pointing north. Now you put that on your map in with the lines, and now your map is orientated. There is a thing called declination, which is the difference between magnetic north and map north. We're quite lucky at the moment in the United Kingdom that it's about 0.8 of a degree. So realistically, you don't have to do anything. You can literally just point it north and you're good. And then it's just about looking at what's in front of you. You know, if you know where you've started, so you point, you know, say Two Bridges, you've got a nice car park just off Two Bridges there. If you're where the big yellow roads are, yep. If you imagine you're standing there and you've got your map pointing north, you should be able to see a nice hill in front of you. Yeah. So you can see all the little wiggly lines. They're called contour lines. Obviously, the closer they are together, the steeper a hill or a cliff or something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you can see that in front of you, then you can orientate yourself on that map. You can chuck the compass away because you know where you are on that map. The compass really comes into its own when you want to know what direction you want to travel in. Yeah. So if you imagine you've got this map and you're at Two Bridges again, and you want to go west. So we know at the top is north. So west, you're going to turn and start traveling that way. So to be able to do that, just say I want to go to Fiercewell. You see you come along the road, and then you go up. So you go from Two Bridges, you go 1, 2, 3. Yep. So if I want to go to there and I want to sort of be in a straight line to that, then I've got to take a bearing to it. And that is as simple as I take my compass again, and this thing will always stay pointing north. So what I want to do is I want to turn my compass with me until I'm pointing in the direction I'm going. Yeah. Now, north is always going to point where it is. So what I want to now do is I want to turn my bezel, this bit, to north. Yeah. And there is my bearing. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Be a 60-degree bearing.
So that would be a 60-degree bearing from where I'm walking. So if now I have my compass flat and I know this is north, yeah. So now I have it on my map and I've got my map pointing north. It will show me what direction I need to travel in. I can then fold my map away, keep my compass at my 60-degree bearing, yeah, and then I go for a walk. and every now and again I take my compass out, and it will be off a little bit, and then I can correct it to my 60 degrees and carry on that bearing.
Okay.
I know you've got some pace beads there. You showed earlier. The nice thing about having pace beads, I will waffle, so this will probably be.
We didn't show the pace beads on the actual episode, so we do talk because we did that beforehand.
Right. So Lance has got some pace beads there. Pace beads obviously means you can work out how far you walk with a certain amount of steps. Usually you'd have a set of 9 and then a set of 4 beads, but Lance has just got a full string. So each 100 meters, you'd move a bead, knowing how far you travel in 100 meters or in 100 steps. You can also do that for time. So if you know I will travel, say, 1 kilometer in this amount of time on the flat, you can do it for time, so you don't need the pace beads. But just imagine we take a bearing and we know that at 1.5 kilometers, we need to change direction, because on the map I've measured that distance, and now I know if it starts to get dark, I just need to change my bearing at that point. Right. So you would walk along, counting your paces, and then when you get that distance, you can do some stuff which is like micro navigation. So you're looking for tiny little features, but in theory, you'd be able to then change your bearing at that point.
Right.
Yeah, and you'd know that you're now going in the right direction for what you wanted.
Sounds a bit like there's a term in military speak, which I've seen on various documentaries, and that is boxing. Whereas if they're travelling on a bearing, they come across an enemy emplacement or anything like that, and they need to box around a target. So they go west for 2 kilometres, and then they'll turn north again, and then turn back east, and then back on north, and they've boxed via a bearing around an objective sort of thing.
So if you've got time to open up a massive map, lay it down on the floor and everyone huddles round and you can take some measurements and things like that, that's absolutely fine. But in reality, if you get to a point and you're like, okay, now we have to turn left, we have to go that way because we can't carry on, then having a set of pace beads really comes in handy, because then you can do that distance and know which distance you're traveling. So if you want to travel out 1 kilometer, then turn, you've done that kilometer box. That's where pace beads really come into their own. It's a funny thing if you was to look at use for MilSims and things like that, it could be a little bit harder because space isn't, it's but you can take a set of pace beads all the way down to 10 meters. It doesn't have to be 100 meters. So you can minimize distance,
scale it back purely for the drill, just purely for getting used to doing it, sort of thing. Absolutely.
And especially if we're looking from a MilSim point of view, if you're given, say, a set of coordinates, and that's where your start position is, and then someone sends you off on a bearing 200 meters, you need to know what that 200 meters is. You need to be able to measure that 200 meters. So it is still very much usable within sort of Airsoft and MilSim. I would love to see it used more because it's a real technical ability. Especially, just even if it was just team leaders, if Zero gave a team leader a set of coordinates and then a bearing to go off to find a cache, or to put up an OP, that's so much better than being given a piece of paper with numbers across the bottom and letters up the side. Because if I go to, say, a trade show and I want to know where a stall is, it's usually D4. It's like, well, that's really, really basic. And that's how you teach kids how to do land nav, but you don't teach adults that are pretending to be soldiers running around the field, you know.
So there's an interesting point on that front,
No, definitely,
because we had a map with the NoFo event. Now, it wasn't a particularly detailed map, and I know we actually didn't end up sending it out, but that there is, you go to any airsoft event, you've got that map with those grid references. If you've never been to a site before, that can still be very hard to navigate, even if you've got grid references, because sometimes the maps are inaccurate, they're poorly drawn, sometimes they're sort of just sketched over Google Earth, which, is fine if you've got a big open site and it's sort of an urban site where you've got key features. But if it's big woodland, it's very hard to navigate. And sort of thinking on that front, if you had a combination of, right, this is the grid reference that you're trying to go to, but it's also a bearing from these features, that would obviously help them people coordinate on where they are, because having the grid reference gives you a rough idea of the site, but if you've got a direct bearing that you can sort of follow, that's obviously going to make that a lot easier.
So much more. If you say from, say, the downed helicopter, respawn is at this bearing, that's you can find that then, because you can look it up. The problem, I think, is a lot of sites, when they run skirmish, it doesn't matter. If you're doing any kind of battle sim, MilSim, or anything like that, the people that are coming in to hire the site probably don't have the time to mock up all the maps for that site. So when they ask the site owner, do you have a map? They usually have that map that is nowhere near on scale, and is not a topographical map. So it's not an OS map of their site. And it doesn't actually look like the ground. And it'll have numbers on one side and letters on the other. So that's what most people get given. If, all OS resources are free, so you can download and you can print maps, A4, for free, and A4 will get you quite a large area in reality, which would encompass nearly every site. So it would be possible to give someone a proper map, a realistic map of the site. The problem is, if you say have 150 people on site, how many of them people are carrying a compass, and how many people can actually read a map?
I mean, that being said, Patrick, with sites and obviously they're different maps, or I've tried my hand at trying to create a map that someone can reference, and by putting some sort of like, rather than like X and Y sort of thing on the two different axes, like doing like three numbers in each of the grids, so it's almost like a six-figure grid reference sort of esque thing, if you like, just to give, like we say, bring that bit of realism. What could site owners or event organisers sort of like bring into their sort of like area maps to add that more realism? So like for you say, if you did overlay all the grid onto a hand drawn map, what could be added to that to make it a bit more realistic, with not only reading the map and using your tools to navigate, but also relaying details of the map over comms and things like that?
Yeah, so if you think the OS map runs on a grid, and the grid will look a lot like that, it's all broken down into tens, because obviously if you've got a 2-grid reference, that's 10,000 meters, all the way down to a 10 grid, which is 1 meter. So you can scale up or scale down as much as you like. Use real maps. That's the key. It really it doesn't matter what the scale is. If it's a 25,000 to 1 map, you scale it up, it doesn't matter, because those squares are still broken down into tens. So if you take a map that's say 25,000 to 1 and you make it 10,000 to 1, those squares are going to be nice and big. You can still break those squares down into tens, because that's what it's designed to do, but it's a real map. It's still the real map. It's just a lot more zoomed in. Those people can still make a grid reference. You're just giving them, you just say, right, okay, this is the scale now. You can have a roamer. So this is an OS roamer. It's going to be really difficult to see. I'll see if I can get it on so that's an OS roamer. So that has all the different scales on it. I think it goes from 50,000 to 50,000 to 10 centimeters. So you can really get small, or you can zoom right out. That's all you need to do. Is just give them what they're supposed to look at. You can give them a map and overlay a grid onto it, so people don't even have to have anything else. They can just go, right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's that. This is what's on it. So being able to give a resource, which is a real resource, just modified for that site. That's what is best, rather than
absolutely.
trying to. Me and my partner, we've got a little bit of an obsession of collecting maps. Now, not just OS maps. I've got a massive box of OS maps, but just maps. Like, we've got one. We're on a site at the moment. We're camping. We're in a van, and this is the map. Yeah, so that's the map. Now, if I was to look at that map, I'd think, right, okay, from where we are to the nearest toilet block is hundreds of meters. Yeah, hundreds of meters. But if I went to the toilet now and really tried to squeeze one out, everyone in the site would hear me. And that's the problem, is that some people will draw a map of their site and make it look like the Nevada desert.
Yeah,
and actually it's tiny.
I mean, and I suppose that's one of the things at the end of the day, is that a lot of airsoft sites aren't enormous.
No.
They're a few acres. They're sort of like sub 100 acres. An awful lot of them. There's a few that may stray over that, but an awful lot of them are between the sort of like 50 to 100 acre marker, if not smaller than that. But so it's like, where with regards to, like you say, about zooming into an actual real topographical map or an OS map, I mean, how much feature is there going to be in a sort of 50, 60 square acre plot of land that some sites are?
There'll be enough. There'll be enough.
Okay.
You'll still have where the streams are and the ditches. You still have those features. You'll still be able to see that. I'm standing on a slope from the topographical lines and things like that. Yes, they're usually set at a specific distance apart, but so that won't really matter. But you'll know, these are really close together, so I must be on a steep slope. There'll be enough detail there for them to read. And you can give them, you could give, if you've say got a squad going out, you can give them two maps. You can give them the map which has got the actual real 25,000 to 1 scale, and then a map which is a little bit more zoomed in, that once they get to that the general area, once they know they're in that sort of 10 meter 100 meter square, then they can bring out the other map and start really pinpointing where that cache is or something like that.
Right.
You'll find some SARS, so search and rescue teams, will have maps that are a standard size, and then ones that zoomed in that they will draw their own features onto. So if they know there's a bridge in a specific place, or if they know that there might be some caves or gullies and things like that, they'll have a bigger map, that they can really, or they can draw on those features. Because I think if you look at my Instagram page, there's a whole post on pen sizes. And when you get to 25,000 to 1, the tip of a Sharpie can be 10, 15 meters wide, so when you're drawing on features, it becomes difficult. So giving them two maps, just give them two maps, just one with the proper scale, so you can see, right, I know I'm in this area, that's what these lines look like, that's what this slope should be like, that's where this ditch is. But when you then go down to say having I need you here for an OP, they can then look at the enlarged map and go, okay, well I know where that building is. I know I need to be like 30 meters off it. That's where I now know where I've got to be.
So it's almost like using the larger overview map to sort of get near to where you need to be, and then almost zooming in physically with the zooming in map to then locate that more pinpoint location.
Yeah,
cool.
So if I need to send you off on, so we say Machiavellian, either one of them. If I send you off on a bearing and I say, right, your OP is at this coordinate, you'll be going off at a bearing. You can look at the normal size map and get where you need to be going in that direction. And when you're in the sort of the rough location, you can bring the other map out and really pinpoint where you've got to be, And you say that to me, and that makes me get all tickly. That's what I want. Because.
But why not? Absolutely, why not?
Absolutely. You think to yourself, you buy Gucci kit, most guys are now running, a couple of grand's worth of night vision. Their riffs are bloody ridiculously expensive. And then you turn around and say, right, so I want you to go to D4.
You've sunk my battleship.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're, and they've got comms that the average civilian should never need. Why wouldn't you want to be given the real deets? I would want to be given the real details. I want to be immersed at that point. I've got all of this equipment on.
I want to be using it properly now.
Absolutely. I want to be looking at my map under red light and going, right, guys, we need to be at this point. We'll walk off that point. Who's got the pace beat? You pace out, and things like that. Just
making me quite excited. That is
exactly. Just think of it like this: the beautiful woodland that your event was in. I could set you a challenge in there, right, where it would just take you around in circles, but you'd need to really work your navigation.
Right. Okay.
It doesn't have to be the Lake District, because you can cross and overcross paths. You can go through woodland. You can try and work out how to get through scrub and rhododendron and get to the other side in the same bearing. All of that is great. Now, if I turn around to you and say there's some dudes that are going to be trying to find you, it just adds to it. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely, mate.
Yeah. It's not hard to really feel, and the Empire Events game. If you was to give them snipers actual physical coordinates, that they have to find, or bearings they have to go off to find things, they have to then use real technique, while still looking out for other people, while still wondering and worrying about their own field craft.
And I suppose with that in mind as well, then it's an automatic braking system for an event that people are going to go to ground. They are going to be referencing their maps. They're going to be taking bearings, and it's going to
it slows it down.
It slows the pace down a little bit, and then it's all off again. And then, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes it a lot less hectic. Where if you say, right, I know I've got, say, 10 guys out there, and one person's in charge trying to figure out where they are, and that person doesn't know how to do that, they're going to get lost.
Going to get shouted at an awful lot.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I completely agree. I think it's something that really needs to be looked at for events. Myself, the whole navigation side of things. I think people who want to go onto them. And I'm not saying that people. I mean, 'cause I don't know all there is to know about navigation. I have very, very basic knowledge of navigation. I think I could probably get by, maybe. But I wouldn't want people who don't know an absolute jack about, like, taking a bearing or along the corridor and up the stairs and all that jazz, to not want to do it, because I'd like to think that people would be there with the knowledge, like yourself, Patrick, would be like, come with me. Absolutely, here we go.
Absolutely,
this is how we're doing it.
Yeah,
and that's exactly. It goes back to that's what it's all should be about, shouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, and basic land nav should be able to be taught in 20 minutes. We're not talking about hand railing and working off features and things like that. That's, you know, if you're in the Lake District and you're on one ridge and you're hand railing a set of trees, hand railing is where you take a feature on the map or off in real life, and you use that as a feature to work towards or a parallel to, you know, so
Right,
that is
okay.
your feature. Like a handrail going up a set of stairs, that's what guides you, but it's at a distance.
Right.
You wouldn't need that. You know, that's sort of, I don't want to say big boys land nav, but that's land nav for the big world.
Yeah.
You know,
Almost like keeping that river
nav,
off to my right hand side for however
Yeah.
long I need to, and then turning. Yeah, right.
yeah. When it comes to a site, you know, you're talking about ditches, tree lines. You're talking about possible tracks. They're things that you can handrail off. You know, you could stay 20 meters into a woodland, knowing that you're still along a track, and that's it. You know, it would be very easy on events where it really is important to be able to use land nav, to be able to teach the people that need it very quickly how to do it.
Right.
Because everything that you'd have would be slightly modified.
Yeah.
You know, this is your map. It's not a big map. It's a tiny little piece of paper. You know, you can draw on your map. You know, most people, like I've got maps that I've drawn on for years with mechanical pencils, you know, and then you can just rub it off. But if you've got a map that you need to know where your OP is or whatever, you can take a pen and write on it, this is where I need to go. You know, this is the direction, this is the bearing. You know,
that's funnily enough something that we generally now do whenever we're sort of out as a team or anything like that. And, you know, someone's got a big map, we normally kind of get one printed, or there's funnily enough, there's a new place called Tough Map or Tough Plan that prints them on sort of waterproof paper and everything now. So it's almost like a big sheet. But having that capability, you pin that up on the wall, and that way, whenever you have a briefing from your command structure or anyway at all, you then have a huddle around with your team, and so, you know, your TLs can then explain what you're doing, where you're going,
where you're supposed to be.
Like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know,
and obviously that goes again with a debrief after a patrol, anything like that. Is that you can update that map with new features that you might have seen, or a fixed physical position that's now in place and it's not going to be going anytime soon. You know, you can mark
and this
that.
is it. You know, if you're on a site and if you're running an event, and this would be very much for people that run events. If you're running an event, you have a map that has features, and then you take, you know, so or you add things on the ground that aren't on that map. So yeah, when patrols come back in, they can say, you know, oh, at this area here, this grid reference, there is another building, or there is a car across the track, or there is a tree, you know, or when you're calling in for, you know, an IED, where is it? Where? You know, show me on this map. You know, we are here. Show me on this map where it was. If you've got, with say some of the Sterling events, the trees, you know, if you've got a call in to get demolitions in to take out an ID, where are you going? You know, what is it best to say? Oh, the second track from the top, go down there, you'll see us. Or, you know, when you're radioing in, do you want to give some proper stuff? You know, it's like,
absolutely. That's what you want to achieve, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Because I don't want to be on my like, you know, £600 Harris radio and go, so you know where the big clearing.
You know where we were earlier.
You know, if you get John, he was with us earlier, and you know that guy chucked that thing at me. Well, we're just down the track from there. You know, it's like
to the left of the really big tree.
Big tree, yeah. It's like, well, okay, you know, yeah.
There's a few questions that have come in on the chat.
Some cracking.
I can only hope I can answer them. Go for it.
Is your compass that big? Because now we're getting older, Patrick. We can't see the normal sized ones.
Oh my! Do you know what? It yes is the answer to that. It's my memorandum. So when I do it on my proper compass, then I'll put it on that. Goes around my neck. It doesn't fit. It
Genuinely,
doesn't fit a
genuinely
GP
interested to know
power
if you've got any other massive versions of things in your van.
Yeah, yeah,
Patrick's actually a borrower.
That was an awkward question.
yeah, yeah. This is like A5. No, so I also coach swimming, so I've got I've got a couple of massive clocks for like taking time and things like that. But in reality, when you're teaching, you've got to have something that everyone can see.
Mm.
You know, and it's something that you can pass round to people so they can see how shit moves.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's yeah. But I do like a teaching aid.
If it helps, it helps. Why not? Absolutely.
Oh yes, yeah.
Pegasus says, how reliable are the compasses found on things like Garmin and Apple Watches? Obviously, Marty Mark tested his earlier, but
Okay, they're good. Nowadays, they're fantastic. The thing that you've got to remember is to keep updating software. So I have a Suntoe watch that I wear, and it has a compass on it, and it's a fantastic compass. But I need to keep updating it, because it needs to know where it is in the world. You know, so if you have an Apple Watch and it's connected to your phone, it will constantly be updating its own GPS. You know, it will know where it is in relation to your phone and in relation to the rest of the world. Obviously, GPS works off how satellites work. So it will fire a signal, and it's how quick that signal gets back to it.
Right.
And if enough satellites are talking to your object, the more accurate it can become. You know, so you're always wanting sort of maybe between 6 and 8 satellites talking to your device, because it sends a signal down. The signal goes back up to the satellite, and how fast it travels, it will know you're this far away. And another one will send the signal, and it now knows you're that far away. So the more satellites that talk to your device, the better. The problem being, satellites are not right above you. So if you've got a satellite at, say, you think we're, you know, I'll be controversial now, we're on a globe. Right? If we're on a globe and a satellite is at, say, on the horizon line, you know, if you're in a valley, now that satellite's not going to talk to your device. So now you might only get, say, 3 satellites above you or in view, and that'll be what's talking. The coordinates then will be so broad. It could be, you know, a kilometer, hundreds and hundreds of meters. So yeah.
I'm not a flat earther, but this is one of my favourite patches. It's the Flat Earth.
Oh no, that's
Explorers
fantastic. That's fantastic. That's
The
fantastic.
round earth, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone should. You know, it's just great stuff. So they're good. They are good, but they do have their limitations. Obviously, GPS doesn't travel through objects very well. So again, if you're in a dense woodland, you can lose GPS quite quickly. The same with, if you say use your phone, it can work off obviously cellular connection and GPS to know where it is. Cellular works off, I think, only 3 towers, where GPS will work off as many as it can find. So it can be precise as long as it's in the right place. Like if I'm stood on the top of a hill and I've got a GPS, it will probably take me down to maybe a centimetre of where I am.
Right.
You know, if I'm in a valley, it could be 40, 50 meters. You know, if I'm in a valley in trees, I could be, it could, you know, sometimes you'll see a little red circle appear, you know, around where it thinks you might be. And that's it literally saying, this is where you could be.
Right.
You know, and it's not even the center of this is where I think you are. It's just saying, I think you're somewhere in this circle. You know, but a compass will always point north.
That's what I was going to say. So we're basically saying old school's the best school for when it comes to nav.
If you've got one of these, yeah, use this. Yeah, if this runs out, have this. You know,
Right.
Because you know, if the shit hits the fan, and we all like to think that that's what we train for, or we do. You know, when we learn new skills, that's what you know. First off, you can train, but everybody else that you're with should train. You know, you should learn knowledge, but everybody else you're with should know that knowledge as well, because you're just a soggy meat sack in reality. And if you go down and you hurt yourself, then that's it. Well, technology is exactly the same. You know, if you were only going to be out for 3 hours and your phone wasn't fully charged, and now you're out and it's like 10 hours later, you've got no satellite, you've got no technology to help you. But if you just got a compass in your bag and you sort of knew what direction you came from, then you're good. You know.
Fair play.
It's the same with comms as well.
Absolutely.
You see the number of times that comms go down. Like people just go, "All right, well, I'm not seeing the rest of my team for the rest of the day." You know, it's because they're not building those kind of fail safes in there. So yeah, completely get it.
And when it comes to say you guys were at NAF, you know, that's a nice big site. Teams get split up and lost, but if everyone just had that piece of the OS map with them, and as a team you said, right, if we get split up, we'll meet here. Yeah, you know, just this point here, then everyone can then find their way back. You know, or at least get themselves close enough to be able to put out a comms call. You know,
Absolutely.
Sorry, Stephen's suggesting you could use a runner with a notepad.
absolutely. Why not? If you've got a long enough piece of string, that'll work as well. You know, don't use breadcrumbs. Birds love them. But yeah, you know, you can do that. You can breadcrumb for other people by putting marks on things, or you know, one of the great things about navigation is it's not all about maps. It's not all about compasses. It's about understanding what the world looks like, you know, in reality. So if you're going for a walk, you don't have to remember what direction you were in. Just remember what certain fences look like. You know, I went through this gate, and
what you saw along the way.
Every now and again, just turn around and look back. You know, because when you're going the other way, that's the direction you want to be looking. You know, so just every now and again, look back and go, oh, look, there's a shore of trees on the top of that hill, and there's a river there. Right, okay, now if I'm even a kilometre away and I can see a shore of trees and a river in a valley, then I know I'm looking back at the same object I was earlier.
Right, yeah.
Now,
Cool.
that's got nothing to do with maps or compasses. That's just about understanding how the world looks around you. You know, like if you're walking down the street, you know, we remember our way home, not because of the direction we travel, because of the things around us. And it's just the same, just out in the muddy stuff.
Fair play. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
One cool old school trick is putting pebbles on top of fence posts. You know, so if you've got a gate that's attached to a fence, go 1 or 2 fence posts to the right of the gate and put a pebble on the top, and you'll always know that you went through that gate.
Right. Okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be a big pebble. It doesn't have to be a boulder. Just an object on the top.
Something that you're going to recognise on your way back. That
You'll know.
I'll get to that gate. It's not there. Right. It wasn't this one I came through. It wasn't. Further down.
Yeah.
No, definitely, 100%.
So a good question that Chris North has asked. He says, how do you find where you are on a map once you're lost? So I mean, this is probably very prevalent for airsoft events, because the number of times that you go to a new site or something like that, you've got no idea where you are. Yeah. How do you orientate yourself from that position?
How do you orientate yourself? Right. So there's a really magical trick. You put your finger on your nose and you spin round 10 times, right? and then you'll always be pointing west. Now, if everyone goes outside and tries that, all right, comes back and tell us if it works. No, easiest thing
you
is just.
had me for a second. Then I
I know. It's
I was
fantastic.
like, this is amazing.
I was sitting there going, is that genuinely bullshit or is that a real magical thing?
That was 100% genuine bullshit. That was. So the easiest thing, if you're at, say, an event, is to use your bloody ears. Yeah. The noise of riffs will tell you where people are, right? And then just walk towards it. If you are genuinely lost in the wild,
back end. We're talking back end and beyond. I've got some features, but I don't know where I am.
You've got yourself turned around, right? So that's where we can do a bearing, but you want to take more than one, right? So if you imagine, I'll put my map on the floor, put some rocks on the corners, right? It's not a windy day, so we don't have to worry about it blowing away, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for something big. Just anything big. It doesn't really matter what it is, but big, right? So if there's a mountain in the distance, right, that's big. I'm going to take a bearing on that mountain, So I'm going to get my compass. I'm going to turn it to that. I'm going to recreate what we did earlier, and make sure that north is north, but my compass is pointing at the object. Now I've got that bearing, so I know that somewhere on my map, that's what the big thing is. You're going to know what general area you are. So if I take a map which covers, say, 100 kilometers, I know I'm going to be within like 10k. You're going to know that kind of area, so I'm going to look for that big thing. And if I can find that big thing, that's my starting point. And I'll draw a line on that bearing across the whole map. And then I'm going to find something else big. Like, oh, look, there's a forest over there. And the forest comes to a point. So I'll find that forest on my map. And I'm going to take a bearing to that forest. And I'm going to try and do that for as many big objects as I possibly can until my map looks like a spider's run across it a few times, and where all of those points meet, that's pretty much where I'm going to be, within maybe 100 meters, but that's where I'll be. And it's just about being able to see the big objects, because the big objects, if you look at, say, a block of woodland, now woodland is nice and green on a map. So I'm going to know, and you can sort of see what shape it is. You've just got to match that on the map. And then you can take a bearing to that. Now, you're somewhere along that line. You do that to another point. Now you're somewhere along that line. Well, where them 2 points meet, that's probably going to be where you are. If you do that a third time, then you're guaranteed that's where you are. And it's exactly the same as the satellites bumping a signal off your watch. It will bump a signal and it knows what distance you are from an object. Well, you're just knowing what line you are on. Your triangulation, your sort of cross section is where those intersect. And don't panic.
We're obviously talking large scale here, but I mean the same principle obviously applies for, say, you're at Longbourn. And you're in a location and you've got some visual cues. Maybe not so much a woodland, because I can appreciate that that's very kind of enclosed.
It gets harder.
You haven't got those sight lines. But if you've got those kind of points of reference, you can do exactly the same thing. So you've got a building in front of you. You can kind of see a road or something like that. You've got another key feature over there. That helps you orientate yourself on that map. So you should be able to sort of find yourself from there. But I mean, obviously, on places like Dharma and the stuff. But
then again, finding key features on a map, I can imagine like a Y in a river or a stream section that's got like like something like that that's recognisable on a map. It'd be like, oh wow, I can see that junction there. That is that.
Yeah, and don't be scared.
There.
Don't be scared to get yourself more lost. And I know that's going to sound weird, but if you're in a valley and you're like, shit, I can't see anything, then walk up that hill. Get yourself to a point where, you can turn around and say, right, well, I need to walk another 5k to get to that point there. But from that vantage point, I will be able to see so much more.
See that you've got to go back the other way.
Yeah, but then that's that is
That's it.
that's
That's
life.
shit.
Yeah, shit. We're quite lucky. We're quite lucky in this country that it's very hard. It does happen on Dartmoor and Exmoor and in the Peak District and things like that, where people get themselves lost, proper lost. But that's more usually down to stupidity, going unprepared. So it's usually about, it's not that they're lost, it's they're stuck because they haven't got the right clothing, or they're now in a blizzard and they can't see where they're going, or they've been injured.
Yeah.
But we're quite lucky that for most of our country, you could probably walk yourself out within 20k. So if you're going to ask me like what the key thing for land nav is, it's your own fitness. In a weird way, because if you get yourself lost, say on the North Downs, you just need to walk and you'll come across a road, or you'll come across a farmhouse. It'd
be embarrassing to call in the air ambulance or something like that if you're like 5 meters from the M25.
Exactly.
If
you think you're in a woodland, or you're just on the side of a glen, or a little valley, and you're like, oh shit, I'm lost. That's it. I'm lost. Right. I'm going to pick up my phone. I'm going to chuck 3 words at some lady, and she's going to come and get me with a helicopter. Right. That's all great. And then when you're being airlifted out, you get above that little hill that you didn't want to walk up, and there's a village. Now you just cost like £30,000 to call out an air ambulance, or to get a group of people. Now they're going to love doing it, because for them it's all training. You get a search and rescue team out, regardless, as long as they don't have to not go and get somebody else because of you, they'll use it as a training exercise. But it's still a little bit shit that you didn't just walk up the top of that hill to have a look.
Yeah.
Unless you are injured or something like that. And if you've got somebody in your group that's injured, then a couple of you stay where they are and a couple of you walk off.
Yeah.
And as long as
right,
we're going up that hill. We're going up that hill. We're not going to go over that hill. We won't go out of sight, or we know you're by the side of this woodland or down on this river. We're going to go up there. We're going to have a look, and that's what it's about. It's about not being scared to make yourself a little bit more lost, to get a better picture.
I've done a bit of wild camping on Dartmoor, and it's definitely easier navigating, I found, on Dartmoor than it was in some airsoft sites I've been to, where you just literally just wall to wall foliage, and you're like, I've got no idea where I am. I don't know which way to turn, anything like that.
Navigating in a woodland is nigh impossible. It's trying to find yourself, where you're going is difficult. That's when you need to remember where tracks are, and when we came from having our lunch, we walked down this track to go, so I just need to find a big track. Like I say, most sites aren't far enough apart that if you were to shout, someone wouldn't hear you. I suggest that literally anybody that goes out into the countryside, just take a whistle with you. It's not heavy. It doesn't take up any space, but it means that you can project your noise a lot further.
For sure.
And most people, because it's such an odd noise, if you started blowing a whistle, they'll come and have a look.
Yeah. And again, on top of that, like that little safety aspect there, Patrick, again, let someone know where you're going and what time you intend to be back.
Yeah. If you're going out into
like
the countryside for a walk, there's a thing called a route card. I'll put one up on when we're back. I'll put one up on and a little explanation of what a route card is. But a route card is literally just like your text message to your mum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What time are you going to be back? Where are you going? Who are you with? Yeah. What are you going to be doing? So your route card is, this is where I'm starting from. This is where I'm finishing. This is the route I should be taking. This is how long it should take. And these are the points where I'll stop. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
that you give that to someone. There are some shops in the Peak District where you can literally give your route card to the shop. Yeah. And when you get back, they'll give you your route card back. If you don't get back before they close, they'll call search and rescue on you. And that's it. You're being looked for, and they will go from your start position. They'll look at that and they'll say, right, okay, they were taking this bearing or going to this place, and they will follow your route, and try and find you. And if you're not on that route, then that's when they'll widen the search. But if you're sat, in a little thicket of trees, on your hammock, thinking, oh, this is just absolutely beautiful, but 4 hours ago you were supposed to call in, or be somewhere, then that's your own fault. And some search and rescues will actually charge you for that.
Well, I can imagine, yeah, absolutely, because of
Yeah.
all the
Because
time,
of their
and effort and equipment. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like I say, some will
Right.
will see it as just a general training, but some will be like, that's your fault, that is.
Yeah. There's a few comments that come in. I'm conscious of the time. So if anyone's got any last minute questions, please whack them in the chat. I'll just run through some of them. Stephen Whitehead says, I'm normally somewhere between the Respawn, Portaloos and the Burger Van. So as long as you
3
get your
points.
bearings off of those.
There you go.
Stephen,
There's
know
your
exactly where you are.
triangulation. That is your
Who knows where he
triangulation.
is? This is where it's all happening.
Greg says, The Natural Navigator by Tristan Gooley is such a good book for navigation tips. Almost too much
Absolutely
information per
fantastic.
page to absorb, though.
Yeah.
Marky Mark says, will there be a NoFo navigation training event?
Wow.
Perhaps.
Who knows? Who knows?
If there is, there'll be a big compass.
Yes, it.
Well, you've got that, funnily enough. Kenny said, Jesus, Patrick, I didn't expect that size of compass.
Hey,
That would be enormous for Kenny as well. That would genuinely be
Yeah.
huge.
Kenny be holding it like this.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a Dennis Waterman moment, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
With a big ice cream. Oh, blimey.
Kenny also said, what type of map do you buy? So you mentioned that you can get OS maps online?
Yep. So I have OS maps on my phone. I don't know, it's not going to pick it up, is it? Which is a great resource. So there you go. Is it going to pick it up?
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yep.
So that is just the Explorer maps. You can get different overlays and things like that. It's free to download and look at maps. If you want to use offload maps and things like that, then obviously you pay a yearly subscription. This will give you a good set of maps to look at. This is probably the easiest way of understanding what a map just looks like. Other than that, just OS Explorer or Land Ranger. The Explorers are the better ones. 25,000 to 1. Just go and buy one. Like I say, if you go onto Facebook Marketplace and put in OS map, tons will come up. Go to any major bookstore and they'll have probably the full set. Go to your local library and they should have a full set of OS maps. But realistically, the ones that you want are orange. They'll have your area 100%. There's nowhere in the UK you can get where you can't get a map for your area. Get one, look at it.
Muted. Sorry, I was muted there for some reason. I'm get like millets or blacks or anything all around the country. Will stock OS maps for that area that they're in. Yeah,
and you can usually blacks and millets nearly always have some kind of deal going with OS. It's such a with modern day mapping. Like I've got 4 apps on my phone that do different maps. And they all sort of pretty much go off the OS map. So it's very difficult nowadays to sell a paper map. So
right.
there's always deals. at them shots.
In a way, though, I'm a bit old-fashioned. Where I don't think you can beat having something like a bit more tangible in your
Oh, I
hands to
love
look
it.
at and,
Yeah,
and sort of,
yeah.
you know.
It can't run out of power, a paper map, can it? That's
No,
the
it
thing.
can't.
Absolutely,
No,
mate. It's absolutely.
And
that.
you can get
With
now. You can get maps that are waterproof. You know, so that you don't have to have a map case or anything like that. You can literally just open it straight out, and wipe it off afterwards. They're great because you can actually draw on them and then use some nail varnish remover to get all your writing off afterwards. But yeah, always an OS map. There are different maps that are available for the UK, but in reality, all search and rescue will use OS. Nearly all services use the OS. Definitely the Land Ranger maps. So you might as well just stick with the most
commonly used one, yeah. So that being said, then Patrick, OS maps are the one to go for, or the Land Ranger one, like you just said. What would be what would you suggest to anyone sort of new to it who wants to build up a little bit of a navigation kit? What would be sort of like a go-to compass? Is there like an entry-level compass, or is a compass compass and just pay this and just get this one?
No, you've got a base. You've both got base plate compasses. Did I see? Oh yeah, so that's a base plate compass, the most common compass on the planet. And that is exactly what you should start off with. Right. It means you can lay it down on your map, you can see through it, and it is so simple. I can see that you've taken the string off.
Yeah. Don't ever go at me for that.
No.
This is funnily enough. I had a this is actually quite a cheap one I found off of Amazon. I think it was like a £5. I had a silver one previously. But I kept that in a box with a load of metal, and it's not quite right anymore.
Yeah, sometimes you can make them go a bit funny. The reason I said you're taking a string off, because when we were talking about doing a bearing and trying to go long distance, so if you think I've got my map in front of me and I've got my compass, so the base plate of my compass is quite small. It's got a mirror inside, so that I can tilt it back and I can then see when I'm ranging. You can see what the bearing is, right. So it's just a little bit more fancy. It's nothing. You could take that off and it would still work. But what this does, is it means that when I'm laying my compass on the map, I can bring my string over the top and lay it across. So now I know I can say, right, this point over here, right, I'm along this line.
Okay, so you actually got something physical to reference, something to visually look
I
at.
can broadcast that direction.
But Mike can't do that now because he's taking his
I didn't purposely take the string off. The string was strangling me because it got caught on a tree. And it snapped off. So that's the reason this one doesn't have a string.
It also means that you can always keep your compass connected to you.
Yeah.
If it's in a pouch,
that was the problem I had, Patrick. It was hanging on my neck. I went through a big bush. It got caught on said bush. The compass is then back up here. I'm struggling to breathe.
You should have navigated around the bush and then come back on your bearing. Yeah.
Two things I'd always say about that, right, is never put it round your neck, right, because that is...
Well, that would be more useful advice.
Most string on compass is nylon. It will take some force, so don't do that. But you can choke it around something and then put it in a pocket so it doesn't get lost. I would always say I'd put mine in my admin pouch. And then usually on most admin pouches you've got the little bit of bungees. I'll choke the string around it, so now I can bring it out and I can have it where I need it. Yeah. If I need to get it further down, I can still, bring it down near my waist and still have it attached to my admin pouch, knowing that I just pop it in. Or if I need to get up and move, it can just drop. I can push it inside a mag pouch. It's there. You can stuff it down the back of your plate carrier or your chest rig. It's not hard to hide a compass. Cool. But I'd always say never put it around your neck.
What about brand, Patrick? What would you recommend? A sort of brand to avoid, or brands a go-to brand that you've always used and you think you sort of rate highly for a compass? Because I wouldn't have a foggiest really of what to go for.
If you're starting out, it really don't matter. If you're starting out, just you can buy yourself a tiny little button compass, as long as it shows the cardinal direction. You know, if it shows north, and in reality, you know, Mike's saying that you demagnified yours a little bit. It still doesn't really matter. You know, not if you just.
Oh no, this was pretty fucked.
No.
Is it just spinning round constantly?
Yeah, but
no,
what I mean is,
it just went.
Yeah, but what I mean is just to be able to hold a compass and turn things round, yeah, and go right. Okay, that's what that bearing would be. Like it, that doesn't matter. If I can do it on this, and that really isn't magnetic, yeah. If you can do it on this, you can do it on one that isn't 100% showing north. If you're saying what would I want to navigate on, then silver. It's fantastic. Suntoe is another go-to. I would say they are the two premier compasses. So Suntoe and silver, but they're not massively expensive.
Right,
you can get massively expensive ones. You know, you can get ones that you think to yourself, well, actually, you know, I don't want to pay that, but you're still rocking around with, you know, nearly $3,000 nods on your noggin. You know, it is what you want to pay for it, but you can pay, you know, 20 quid and get a basic silver compass.
It's definitely worth it, I think, isn't it?
So
definitely.
This is the Silver Ranger compass.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
£22.
Yeah, I think they're the ones that are mainly used. Oh,
this is not silver, quite clearly, but this is a Ranger compass for the Boy Scouts, which is £5.88, and it's quite small. Yeah. So, I mean, I would personally suggest if you're going to do a MilSim event in a woodland environment, it's worth having a compass just to at least orientate yourself to north. The number of times that you kind of get comms to say, oh, you need to head north, you need to head south from your current position. And people go, yeah, cool. And they just head off in any old random direction. Yeah. Or the best one is they go north because that's the direction they're facing. Just right, I'm going that way because that's my north.
Yeah, north is always up.
Yeah. Follow me on either way.
That's north. If you look at the Duke of Edinburgh Award, yeah. So if you put in, say, Amazon, you put in compass for Duke of Edinburgh Award, they will be good. That'll be a good bit of kit. You know, anything that's endorsed by the Duke of Edinburgh Award for land nav is going to be good because they're sending kids out with it. So you know, and I'd also say that pretty much about a lot of outdoor gear. You know, if you said what is the most basic you would want to buy brand wise, if the Duke of Edinburgh are saying you shouldn't use it, then you probably shouldn't use it. You know, you can buy a waterproof jacket for 500 quid, or you can buy one that the Duke of Edinburgh Award endorses for say 75 quid. You know, it's still going to keep you dry. Will you sweat in it? Yeah, probably, but it'll keep the wet off you. And that's the same with their equipment as well. So if you find a compass that kids are using to find their way around, you know, the downs and the rest of the country, then that'll be a good place to start.
Perfect, sir. Perfect.
Cool. We've got last few comments. I'm conscious of the time. Rage says, too many Garmin's, Patrick. Team leaders would use those instead of bearings and maps. I do feel that with GPS tech now orienteering and a bit of a dying art, that's why I like you and the land nav page. Hashtag
Definitely.
OS is king. Oh, OS is king.
Yeah.
I read that as O-Sisking to stop.
O-Sisking.
O-Sisking.
But this is it, you see. It's like you've got a Garmin on your plate carrier, you know, up here where it's Gucci to have it, and it is Gucci to have it, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful bit of kit. But then you get into a nice dense bit of woodland and your Garmin's only pinging off 2 satellites and it's saying, well, you're in that woodland. what are you going to do? It's not going to be any use. It's just there to look nice. But your map and compass will tell you exactly where you are or where you're supposed to be going. Yeah.
Fresh Meat says, if you collect maps, I've been given a map from 1984. It's a map of a training exercise conducted by the British Army in Germany. Massive map with all sorts of official annotations on it. And he did follow up and say it's yours if you'd like it.
Oh, 100%. 100% that'll go in a frame on the wall. You know, it's not odd to say there is a slight obsession with it. And
No, there isn't, is there?
No, and I'm very lucky.
Just pulls out his other bigger compass.
Yeah, and I'm very lucky that my partner also likes it. So yeah.
Fair play.
And this
That's how Stockholm Syndrome works, though, isn't it? So,
is that if you go out somewhere and you are the person that knows how to do something, then you're the fucking idiot. You know, because like first aid, everyone in your group should know how to do first aid, basic first aid. Some form of navigation, some form of fire starting, you know, all the old ways, and I use the old ways, you know, old country crafts, everyone in your team should know how to do it. Because if everyone else is just relying on you, you're the idiot. Because you get hurt, that's it. You're the one that's in trouble now. You know, so yeah, old things are usually, I'm not saying that I love old things, I do like new stuff, but you can't go wrong by
yeah, but old craft and things like that, and just having a bit of with the wits about you about what's happening. It's like me bringing up my kids in it. You know, I like to get them out and about, and you know, getting their hands dirty and showing them this and showing them that. It's like, you know, come on, it's some basic skills for you that you would know. You know.
Yeah,
I
I used to teach bushcraft, and the look on everybody's face the first time they create fire. You know, and I don't want to say there's something primal about it. It's just they've learned a skill. You know, they've learned. It's a brand new skill that someone has learned, and
Absolutely.
most people will just be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing." You know. So yeah.
100%. No, fair play, mate. It's good.
Anna says, I love my adventure map of the UK.
Do you know what? That's what we got here.
There you go.
The adventure map
There
of the
we
UK. Yeah. We love our adventure map of the UK as well.
I've not got one of them. I feel quite left out.
Sorry. Fresh Meat says you're going to need a big fucking wall for the map, apparently.
Oh, I've got some big walls. I've got some big walls. That's fine. Yeah.
Did it go in the West Wing?
Apparently, it's a map near Bergen, Germany. It's a map.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So.
Cool. I like that.
Stephen Whitehead, do you have any Silk Escape maps?
No.
That'd be a very cool thing to get hold of.
Yeah.
An escape map, yeah. Or even for an event though, Patrick, do you not have a map printed on material, so it is scrunchable and just stuff it in a pocket?
You can buy. There's a company, I can't remember the name at the moment. There's a company that sell fabric maps, so that you can, cool. You know, yeah, they're great. They're a little bit harder to mark or
splash
write on.
Maps apparently.
That's it, splash maps. Yeah, and they're really good. I think they probably have taken the idea of an escape map and printed that. It means you can just scrunch it down and put it in your pocket. They're obviously not as big as a standard map, so it would mean that you'd need a lot of them depending on the area you were in.
Yeah, for sure.
Quick, sew more together.
Hurry.
Especially if you think, if you were saying doing a couple of weekends in the New Forest or up on the Peak District or the Lake District, you can have an OS map that will encompass a massive amount of area. And if one of those splash maps only takes a smaller section of that, you do need to just keep purchasing. But definitely as a if it's just your local area, why not? Definitely have something like that.
There you go. My mind immediately went to what did it call like have because we always talk on the show about sort of doubling up and a splash map or sort of a cloth map. I think you can use them as towels and things, but you can have like t-shirts or like pants or socks or something made into like a bit of a map, so you can kind of go, oh, hang on, 2 seconds, and then you can get your sock out and be like, oh yeah, right.
Where am I going?
Just under the left nipple.
Just under the left nipple.
Unfortunately, chaps, our ending location is in my gusset. So.
Yeah. Well, you know where your belly button is. If you come about 2 inches up from there.
Oh, can you imagine on the radio? Yeah. Remember earlier when you was looking at my t-shirt map? Well, there's that bit there.
Yeah. And then what happens if you're a really messy eater? You just covered up and that's it.
Create your own features.
Yeah. I think I'm by like a big red lake, but I'm not sure.
There's some other questions that I'm going to put to Patrick after the show, and then I don't know if you want to pick those up through the Land Nav challenge, perhaps, or we can do something where maybe.
I think this needs a part 2, if I'm honest. I think this does need a part 2.
Patrick's obviously part of the NoFo community as well, so maybe we can kind of put some posts up about on the community chat, perhaps. But there's basically sort of 4 or 5 questions. There's one thing I just want to briefly mention, which is I don't know if either of you have used the Ares Alpha Tracker app.
Oh, was that for the in-game stuff? The Ares battle map thing?
It was actually Ed Silly who was talking about this. Apparently he used it in AE, and it's got some quite decent compass functionality and sort of team tracking and stuff like that. So if anyone's interested in that, I have absolutely no idea about it, but I'd be interested to find out more. So if you could pop me a message, I'd be interested just to find out how that all works.
I think it would be good. It's good for like command to use, so they can see where everyone is, and maybe team leaders. I don't know how segmented you can make it so that sort of command can see everybody, but team leaders can only see their team. I think that you can do that, but. Like I wouldn't need to know where the rest of my team are necessarily, unless I was like, oh shit, I am lost. But for being able to keep your squad, know where everybody is, I think that would be fantastic. And it does. All you're doing is saying, right, okay, what are real militaries using? Especially like you think nowadays with peer-on-peer combat.
Well, it's Blue Force Tracker, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. What are they using? And then a civilian company are just trying to make a modified version of that. How it's used, you can have everybody see everyone on your team, or you can say, right, well, that's not how it would actually work. It would be a hierarchy. The general squaddy probably wouldn't be able to see where everyone else is. I'm not 100% sure, but then that makes it more of an asset, Yeah. In reality, yeah.
And Rage. I know Rage just said put it on the community chat and discriminate against us non-Facebook users. I'll also make sure it's on Instagram for you as well, Rage. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll
don't worry. We'll upload it to rage.com. Just for you.
And obviously, one of the things that you should be doing, we have technology. You can have Find My Phone on your phone. There are apps that allow people to log in and find out where you are. So if you were going somewhere that you think you might get lost, it's always a good question to say, right, okay, well, no, you can just log in and see where my phone is, because most people carry it with them. And stuff like that, Same with Apple Watches, and most trackers will have some form of way of finding them.
Cool. If you want to get in touch with Patrick at Land Nav Challenge, I don't know if you want to. I'll let you present your own stuff.
Well, it's land_nav_challenge on Instagram. There's also a link to my website, which you can just ask questions or just message me on that. It's not the end of the world. I'm quite a chatty human. If you've got questions.
What's your website?
It's Life Green Events. I do swim coaching, land nav, first aid, stuff like that.
Cool.
If you want to get in touch with the show as well, we can also put comments to Patrick, so you can do so on our email, which is nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. Patrick, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. It's genuinely a real pleasure.
It's been absolutely fantastic.
And not like in the comments section down there.
Yes, no, absolutely. I nearly commented earlier just so I had a comment on there.
You'll be missed. Your name will be missed tonight.
Next week, I don't know what we're doing. What are we doing, Lance, next week?
I don't think it's Q. Is it Q&A week or
I'll be
not?
honest
I'm not sure.
I'll be honest with you, because obviously Andy's been out of action.
Well, next week might be a bit of a
thrown us little
debrief
bit.
from something that's going on, maybe.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's fine.
Well, I don't know,
yes.
is it?
Okay,
You
that's
tell
fine.
me. I have no idea.
No,
I'm
we were
very
gonna
much in the dark about this.
We were going to talk about night events and operating in the dark.
Oh, there we go then.
That was our planned episode, funnily enough. So, yeah, there may
what's
also be a
happening next week,
debrief
then.
on something along those lines, funnily enough.
Yeah, I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert.
I'd always say
So,
if it's worth practicing in the daytime, it's worth practicing at night.
Absolutely. I'm going to get my
That's just
daytime
good-
shit
good
wild
advice
down
for anything.
first.
Absolutely. Put that
Yeah.
with anything in life. Anything in life.
No, good stuff.
Thanks, Patrick. Genuinely, it's really cool to have you on.
Thank you
I mean,
very
it's
much.
the whole navigation thing we've obviously not covered at all before, and I
I've
think
barely
it's
scratched the
fascinating.
surface
It's
tonight, I
something-
think. There's
Oh,
No,
definitely
we always take it for granted. Like, it's
You
mad.
can really deep dive this subject. You know, but like I say, it shouldn't be seen as something that is like, oh, it's just too complicated, because it isn't. You know, yes, when you do it over and over again, it gets easier and easier and easier. But you know, when I was asked to come on, you do the thing where you say, "What's the last thing at the end of the show?" You know, and I was thinking, well, what would I say? You know, and in reality, you should never be scared to learn something new. You know, skills perish, so you can practice them. But doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what you are, you can always learn something new.
Absolutely.
You know, and this is something that when you learn it, it just gets more fun. You know.
Well, I won't ask you for your closing remarks.
Could well be probably the best
think
to
you
date,
nailed that.
I'd like to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. And one thing I did just want to mention before the show ends. So I don't know if this is true or false. You mentioned like spinning around, holding your finger on your nose, and you end up pointing west.
Yeah.
Apparently, dogs pee. They've done actual census on this, and dogs pee aligning themselves north to south. So they don't all do it, but stereotypically, a dog will pee north to south. So if that's ever of use to anybody, if you're lost
There
and
you
you've
go.
just got a dog,
There you
just
go.
hope that they're peeing north to south.
Absolutely. And don't pee upwind. You know.
Yes.
That's, at the end of the day.
Right, we'll see you all next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Thanks again, Patrick. I don't know if you
Not a
guys
problem.
want
Thank you very much.
I'll let you guys say goodbye yourselves.
Goodbye, selves.
Goodbye, guys. And selves, yes, goodbye, selves. Yeah,
See
ciao,
you.
Bella. Stay NoFo.
Yeah.
All that shit.
See you soon.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
And get well soon, Andy. There you
Yes,
Get
100%.
well soon, Andy. Yep. Keep your nipples away.